Naomi, finally, she used to work for BMW before we managed to persuade her to defect to us. And now she creates the vast majority of our website content, such as blog posts, area guides, etc. She writes a lot of copy for our newsletters, and she's also a very useful and critical pair of eyes for proofreading our tour packs. So that is the current 6-strong office team. The company headquarters are actually located in a tiny Cornish cottage, which is perched right on the top of a stormy cliff near St Agnes. But a very large part of the team are scattered all over the country, often in far more mundane places than that. And some of the guides are even further afield in France or Ireland and the Scottish Isles. And that's been really good for us recently, because obviously it's allowed us to work from home very easily and to get through the current crisis without too much drama. So now on to our wonderful guides. These are the guys and girls that really make each Magellan tour what it is. They all have different personalities, of course, including 1 or 2 that are larger than life, and each brings their own twist to the job. We provide all of our guides with yearly pre-season training and an exhaustive handbook containing our accident breakdown policies, instructions on how our tours are operated. But we do try, however, to make a point of not micromanaging our guides so that their own specific brand of fun can shine through on tour. So we're proud of the fact that each of these lovely people wears our orange t-shirt while they're away. And if you go away with any of them, you'll see that each one embodies that Magellan spirit of freedom and adventure in their own particular way. So here's the guiding team. I mentioned earlier, Felix and myself, we both also guide for Magellan as well as working in the office team. Next in line, Mark Holroyd. He's an ex-Royal Navy bomb disposal diver, so I'm sure you can imagine not very much makes him sweat. He's also a Cornish native, like Felix, David and Charlie. He'll be guiding our Black Forest and our Pyrenees tours in 2021. You might also recognise him from Ridercam TV, which is a YouTube channel that he runs with fellow Magellan guide Toby. And Mark also has a very entertaining book out called Frog Tales. That's all about his life diving for the Royal Navy. So if you're interested, there is a link to buy a signed copy on his Facebook page. And I think Jerry's put those links up for everybody to see. Next along, Nick Dawson. He used to run whiskey distilleries for a living before setting up in construction. So now he's retired and he lives in the south of France. Him and Mark are the longest serving guides at Magellan. Most years, Nick will guide the Corsica, Sardinia and France Grand Tour, just simply because his knowledge of the country is so extensive. And that's his only tour for 2021, because he's also involved in organising a large rally for the Triumph Owners Motorcycle Club next year. Billy Byfield on the end. He's an ex-martial arts national champion, and he lives on a tiny Scottish island off the west coast called Tiree, just simply because that's the only place his wife can keep him out of trouble. He's a real character and a bit of a prankster, to be honest. He'll be guiding our entire North American offering next season, from Anchorage right down to LA. So you'll definitely see some craziness on Facebook while he's away next year. Next row, Louisa Swaden. Some of you may recognise her as well. She used to work in shipping statistics, and she was right at the top of her game for many years. She now runs a website called The Existential Biker that encourages people to live life to the full. And she follows her own advice completely, because she's recently competed at Bonneville Salt Flats. She was part of a world record attempt on an LPG powered bike. She also holds land speed records for sand riding at Pendine, and she's taken part in a world relay event for the Women's Riders Federation. So she often speaks at events such as the Adventure Bike Rider Festival or Horizons Unlimited, etc. And she's guiding our Italian Dolomites, Lakes and Alps tour next year. Toby next along, yet another Cornishman. He works for the police force in public relations, and he also runs a successful web development business as a sideline. He doesn't have any tours planned for next season. A recent career move in the police has left him short of time, but he very often guides our Spanish itineraries. And he is the other half of Ridercam TV with Mark above. Andy Wright in the middle there. He lives in Ireland now with Teresa on their family dairy farm. He's a nurse by trade, and he trained and worked supporting children from troubled backgrounds. So he really knows how to bring a huge sense of fun to his tours. He brightens up any room that he enters, and there's always laughter when Andy's around. So him and Teresa actually often work as a double act on their tours. And Andy's guiding our Austria and Switzerland tour for 2021. Teresa is Andy's other half, and she's the one responsible for luring him over to Ireland in the first place. She's a very highly qualified emergency room nurse, and she's a really selfless and caring personality. And a good example of that is last season, one of the customers that she was on tour with had lost their passport. Teresa rode hundreds of miles out of her way to sort him out. And she'll be guiding our Picos 8-day tour next season, and that's the first to depart at the beginning of May. Finally, for this row, Andre Baharia. He lives in the Peak District, where he works from home in a very specific niche of HR that nobody else can be bothered to learn about. And he owns several bikes and a tractor, because he also dabbles in a bit of hobby farming. And he's only actually been riding bikes since 2012, but he's absolutely mad for it now. And he'll be guiding our Transylvanian adventure and our Moroccan tours in 2021. Final row, I'm sure a lot of you will recognise that handsome chap in the bottom corner. John is an active Wey Valley member, and he's also going to be leading our 4 tours, as I mentioned. So that will be the Spain Grand Tour, the Greece Tour, the Portugal Tour, and the Morocco Tour that will be co-guiding with Andre. He's retired from a 35-year career in the steel industry, and he's one of our most active guides. And as you can tell by those 4 tours, I have to sometimes make sure that there's enough left for the others. Next along from him, Andy Tofts. He spent 22 years in the Royal Air Force before becoming a university lecturer. He's just about to retire from a further 22 years there. When he does, you can expect to see him competing with John for the top spot. But for this coming season, he'll just be guiding our Arctic Circle tour. And Andy was actually my support rider on one of my tours last year, and we had a great laugh. He's such a lovely guy. All of our guides are lovely. Mark Johnson in the middle, he fell in love with biking in South Africa, and he lived there for many years. Now he's based in the UK, and he works as a project manager in IT. He'll be guiding our Balkans Explorer in 2021, and he'll be putting his famously dry sense of humour and extremely deadpan delivery to very good use in the morning briefings. Rich Edwards, he's our newest recruit. He served with Mark Holroyd as a Royal Navy diver before going on to work as a hostage negotiator for the police. So he'll be assistant guide for John on the Spain Grand Tour next year, and you can expect to see his name on the website for tours of his own in 2022. And finally, in the bottom corner, who's next? Our guiding team is growing all of the time as the business expands, and in 2021 we've got 4 assistant guides scheduled to complete their training tours. Each of those will probably take on tours of their own in 2022 and beyond. So we're growing all the time. Most of our guides don't run more than 1 or 2 tours a season. They've often got day jobs or other commitments, and also it keeps the experience and the excitement fresh for them to just do 1 or 2. John's the exception. I think he's just a glutton for punishment, to be honest. So now you've been introduced to who and what Magellan is, I think it's important at this point to make clear just how large a part of who we are and what the Magellan brand represents is actually dependent not on us as a team and as a company, but on the people who come away on our holidays each year. So community is a huge part of what we do. So who or what is a Magellanite? So I mentioned earlier that our main differentiation from the competition is our inclusive attitude, our customer service, and our community focus. So we pride ourselves on offering the friendliest and most inclusive tours out there. And the big bad biker image couldn't be further from who we are. Everyone on 2 wheels is welcome on a Magellan tour. And on our tours, you're likely to see a full cross section of the motorcycling community. So we have couples who are rider and pillion, couples on separate bikes, people in their 20s, people in their 80s, people who literally passed their test days ago, ladies riding solo, families away together, and of course we do have the occasional bloke with a beard as well. So we don't really think it's important how long you've been riding or how fast you can go. As long as you want to ride your bike and come on holiday, then you're our kind of person. You won't be judged on ability or experience. We want our customers to experience the sense of camaraderie and belonging that being a motorcyclist and being a traveller can provide. So people who choose to travel by motorcycle tend to have the same sort of broad-minded and quite individualistic views. So by default, they've got a lot in common, and more often than not, also very lovely and very interesting people. And this is something that was almost just stumbled across in the early days of Magellan, the fact that the tour itself is only one element of the motorcycle travel experience. We found that people who had been on tour wanted to keep the memories of their adventure fresh and would very often continue to meet their tour mates well after their holiday was over. And it's so nice to see this actually happen whilst you're away, because many, many lifelong friendships have been created on Magellan tours. And it's not uncommon to see people who were total strangers on tour one year coming away together time and time again. So this community that's grown up very much organically around our company is getting bigger and bigger all of the time. And there are now more ways than ever to connect with others in it, whether you're chatting with previous tour mates, or you're a first timer connecting with others in your group, or even if you're someone who is just looking for advice. Anyone with an interest in two-wheel travel is very welcome. And there are now also more and more benefits to being involved as the company grows as well. So I'm just going to give you an overview of some of the many facets of our community, and there are links available to these as well. So anyone wanting to join can just choose whichever way works best for them. First of all, Magellan Plus. This is really our way of saying thank you to everyone that tours with us year on year, and to let them know that we appreciate them and that they really do matter to us. So Magellan Plus is the customers only area of our website with access to all of the deals that are available to Magellanites. So everybody who's booked with us before automatically receives our £100 returning rider discount on every future Magellan tour. We even celebrate people's 5th tours with £200 off and their 10th tours with £500 off. And there's special Magellan branded shirts and jackets available as well to those people. We offer recommend a friend rewards. So any existing customer who persuades someone completely new to book on a Magellan tour gets £200 off their next tour. And if they book on the same tour as that person, it's £200 off the tour that you're already booked onto. We also have a lot of discounts and offers in Magellan Plus that we've gathered together from the industry, including money off shad luggage, sports bike shop discounts, deals on insurance, reduced costs on hotel rooms near to our departure points, amongst a lot of others. And you receive login details to Magellan Plus whenever you pay a deposit for one of our tours. We also have a very strong social media presence now. Our Facebook page is a great way to learn more about us. But if you're already a customer of ours or you're aware of us, then Magellan Riders, our Facebook group, is the place to be. So we've got over 750 members now, and many of those have been on multiple trips with us. This is a great source of honest, unbiased public opinion. So not only is it a great way for potential customers to find out more without having to take our word for it, it's also invaluable to us as a way of gauging how well we're doing at any given moment. And you're all welcome to join if you haven't already. There's plenty going on there. We often run photo competitions, for example, for the group cover photo, amongst other things. And in fact, our latest gift voucher design uses a competition winning shot from a group member, and that was along the theme of open roads. So if you purchase a voucher from us, you'll see this image on there. We recently introduced mini Magellan ride-outs as well on the Facebook group as a way for people to continue to get together despite the recent COVID problems. We sent out planners packs to anyone wanting to host one. These were really popular, and there were several great routes organised both by guides and customers. And this is something that we really hope will take off next summer. But mainly, Magellan Riders is simply an excellent forum for our customers and other like-minded riders to chat. It is moderated, but unlike many other groups, we very rarely have any issues. And I think it may be the last 3 years I've probably had to hide as many comments. And I think that's a great reflection on the sort of people that are attracted to our brand. We also have a YouTube channel and Instagram account, and they're both great visual showcases for our trips. So feel free to head over and have a look at these if you want to see our best pictures and videos. And while you're over there, don't forget Ridercam TV, which is Mark and Toby's channel. They've got some fantastic how-to videos and a lot of good touring advice on there as well. We also release a regular email newsletter. This currently has just under 3,000 subscribers, and it goes out generally somewhere between fortnightly and monthly. It's well worth signing up to because this is where we announce all of our latest updates. For example, any new tours that get added to the menu or any special offers, and also any events that we might be running. And events-wise, we generally have our end of season party, which I mentioned earlier, and this takes place each year at the same time as Motorcycle Live. Tickets are announced on our newsletter, and they include NEC entry, exclusive nighttime entry to the National Motorcycle Museum, and a fabulous meal and a party afterwards. It's a really great day. Tickets don't last long, to be fair, so look out for this being announced in the summer. Unfortunately, this year it's going to be situation permitting. It might be slightly different, but we've got our fingers crossed. So we also organise training for our guides pre-season, and this is scheduled to coincide with the first weekend of the BMW off-road skills calendar. This coming year, it's the 26th and 27th of March, and we have that weekend exclusively for Magellan. Many of the office team and the guides and the support riders will all be there, but it is also open to customers. So course content is created especially for us. All abilities are catered for, and I think this year we've probably only got about 8 spaces left. So if you are interested at all, you can drop us a line. But if you've never ridden a 1/4 of a ton motorcycle off road before, then it's a real eye-opening weekend. And finally, for this slide, I'd just like to say that we are extremely proud of the fact that we've got a 5-star rating on Google and on Facebook, and that over 70% of our customers choose to book another tour and come away with it again. And in fact, we have an entire page on our website that's dedicated solely to displaying the huge volume of positive testimonials that we receive every season. Obviously, we all believe in Magellan, but it's an amazing feeling to know that so many others out there share our opinion on the matter, and also to know that we're getting things right. So that's about 20 minutes, is it roughly? Something like that. I've planned in a small coffee break for now. So shall we come back at maybe 25 to or something like that? That's hopefully somewhere around about the middle of the presentation. So I'll carry on.
Brilliant.
Okay, so now you know all about who we are. Just as important, let's take a look at what we actually do. And of course, that is motorcycle holidays. So what can you expect from a Magellan holiday? For the upcoming 2021 season, we have over 50 separate tours listed on our website in a mixture of two main formats, and we'll look at those a bit more closely in a little while. Our holidays are structured to provide a high level of individual choice, even in a large guided group, and to empower our customers to have their own adventure. So we aim to remove the hassle, stress and complexity of organising a long multi-country tour without diluting the carefree experience that's so essential to a great bike trip. The Magellan touring format basically strives to put everyone at ease from the word go. We very rarely venture onto a motorway unless absolutely necessary. Our days are generally 5 to 6 hours in length, and they all include regular pre-check stops for coffee and lunch. Often these are at local beauty spots or other sites of interest, and most of our tours also include several rest days where you can explore off the bike, relax by the hotel pool, or take optional ride outs if you want more saddle time. Excuse me. So each customer receives a digital and a physical tour pack, and we believe that these are the most comprehensive in the industry. They contain everything you need to know about your holiday. This includes full route files in various formats, a printed and bound itinerary document with daily step-by-step route notes, reams and reams of advice on preparing yourself and your bike for the trip, packing lists, planning pitfalls to avoid, as well as stickers and t-shirts, free gifts, etc. and more. So onto the two formats that I mentioned a moment ago. We offer guided and self-guided tours, all of which can be altered to suit any changes that you might wish. We also offer private and custom tours as well, and I'll explain that a little more later. But basically, if you would like something that you don't see on the website, just get in touch, we'll make it work for you. So I'll talk about our guided tours first. These are split across two continents, Europe and North America. Technically, it's 3 continents because we also visit North Africa as well. And I'll focus on our European tours now before showing you our North American offerings in a moment. So 15 of our current guided itineraries cover all of Europe, from the stormy Atlantic coast of Ireland in the west all the way to the sparkling blue Aegean in the east, and from the Arctic Circle in the north right down to the first sandy dunes of the Sahara in the south. In between, we cover all of the continent's finest roads and scenery, including mountain passes in the Alps, the Pyrenees and the Dolomites, beautiful lakes like Garda in Italy and Titisee in Germany, and classic cities like Budapest, Marrakesh, Santiago de Compostela, and much, much more. So Magellan's guided tours, European guided tours, start out from the UK and take you on adventures across Western, Central and Eastern Europe, as well as Scandinavia and North Africa. We arrange all the crossings, hotel stays, routes and stops. Breakfast is included every morning. All of these trips have a guide who you met earlier, and they're at your disposal 24/7 during the trip. Each tour also has a support rider along as well, to ensure that there's always a friendly face available and to assist in capturing all of the great shots and footage that you see from our holidays. So we also run a locally operated support vehicle in Morocco, as there are currently no breakdown services on offer that cover North Africa. Most people choose to travel on their own motorcycles, but we can also arrange rental from a large selection of current models. So in our European guided lineup, we have tours ranging from 8 days right up to 21 days. So you might want to squeeze your holiday into the space between 2 weekends, in which case our 4 shortest tours would be ideal. Our Picos 8-day tour is full of stunning mountain roads and great Spanish tapas. Our breathtaking Black Forest tour visits the world famous B500 and the superb riding roads of the Vosges Mountains. And with 3 nights in Baden-Baden, it's got a really relaxed holiday tempo. On our Pyrenees Explorer, you'll visit the cities of Pamplona and Andorra, as well as riding the best roads in the Pyrenees as voted by local bikers. And on the Best of the Emerald Isle tour, you'll discover Ireland's fascinating history and world famous hospitality. If you've got a bit longer, these tours all fit into 16 days or less, and they allow you to explore a bit further afield. So our Austria and Switzerland, our Italian Dolomites, Lakes and Alps, and our North Coast 500 tours all last 11 days and focus on fantastic riding roads. Some of the Alpine passes, I believe, are among the finest roads in Europe, and the scenery on the Scottish West Coast is so stunning you would never believe you were only hundreds rather than thousands of miles from home. On our 12-day Spain Grand Tour and our Picos de Europa and Northern Portugal tours, They sit nicely either end of the riding year to make the best of the perfect shoulder season weather. The roads on both of these tours are perfectly surfaced and practically deserted, and both itineraries are culture soaked and sun soaked. And at 16 days each, our Sardinia, Corsica and France Grand Tour and our Balkans Explorer both visit stunning Mediterranean coastlines, with highlights such as the Route Napoleon, the Millau Viaduct, Sarajevo, Dubrovnik and more. And if you've got plenty of time available, then these trips can all be done on 3 weeks annual leave or less. Morocco is 19 days long and the rest are 21 days. So on our Morocco tour, you're immersed in the culture of a totally different world as you ride your bike to Africa. We make it as far south as the immense sand dunes of Erg Shebi via Marrakesh, the Todra Gorge and the mighty Atlas Mountains. Our Greece Wonders of the Ancient World tour takes you to Europe's most mountainous country with historical highlights like the original Olympic Stadium, the precarious Meteora monasteries, the Corinth Canal and ancient Athens. On our Transylvanian adventure, highlights include the world-famous Transfer-Garrison Highway, Dracula's Castle and the city of Budapest, and you'll travel through 9 European countries in 3 weeks. And finally, our Scandinavian tour takes you right up and across the Arctic Circle, and on the way you'll ride through the world's longest road tunnel along the famous Atlantic Highway, and you'll visit sites such as UNESCO's World Heritage Gorenga Ford. So that was our European tours. Now let's take a look at our North American guided offering. So we have 4 North American tours in our guided lineup, and between them they cover the whole west coast from Anchorage in Alaska all the way down to Los Angeles, California. And on the way we pass through some of the planet's last remaining wilderness, come face to face with Canadian bears, and follow in the footsteps of Lewis and Clark on their route through what are now the modern day states of Oregon, Wyoming and Montana. Then we head south along the Pacific Coast Highway via Sin City on one of the USA's most iconic road trips. We also have 2 Cuban tours on offer, and these are led for us by none other than Che Guevara's son Ernesto, and of course they're ridden entirely on Harley Davidsons. So our entire lineup of mainland North American tours run in sequence each season, so all 4 can actually be strung together to create a single continent spanning mega tour. And we arrange airport transfers, bike hire and insurances included with multiple upgrade options. 2 Magellan team members accompany you throughout the entire tour. One of those is always driving a support truck which carries a spare bike on board. And we also include global rescue evacuation insurance as standard. All you need to do is add flights. Now, our 2 Cuban tours also include bike hire and airport transfers, and they have the benefit of the historical and cultural knowledge of a member of the Guevara family. So our lineup begins in Anchorage, Alaska, and that's the largest city of Alaska. And it takes you on a loop through the wilderness of the state that's nicknamed the Last Frontier. So you'll pass glaciers and deserted ghost towns and ride through bear country on your way to visit the Denali and the Dalton highways. Our Canadian adventure picks up from our Alaskan tour. It takes you over the border into the Yukon wilderness. You'll pass through Banff and Jasper National Parks along the Icefield Parkway. And you'll see even more wild bears as you ride below Mount St. Helens and Mount Rainier. And then our Pacific Northwest tour, that follows on from Canada, and it departs from Portland, Oregon, and it traverses the old Wild West, crisscrossing Lewis and Clark steps through endless highlights such as the Beartooth and Lolo Passes and Yellowstone National Park. And the 4th and final mainland itinerary takes you down from Big Sky Country along the Pacific Coast Highway that the tour is named after. And this is one of the USA's most iconic road trips. You'll visit giant redwoods, including one that you can ride your bike through, Alcatraz in San Francisco, Yosemite National Park, Death Valley, Las Vegas, and the Grand Canyon, all before arriving in Long Beach, Los Angeles. And if you book any of these tours back to back, we'll cover the cost of the deposit on all but the first. So if you fancy putting them all together into the trip of a lifetime, you save £1,500 over all 4 tours. And finally, for our offerings across the Atlantic, our 2 Cuba tours. So we've got 7 and 10 day itineraries available, and both of these take you through vibrant and colourful colonial cities like Cienfuegos and Trinidad, and you'll ride your Harley alongside hordes of classic American cars, visiting mangrove islands, tobacco farms, the Che Guevara Mausoleum, and the famous Trembling Dardo, the almond train. So now that you know everything there is to know about our guided itineraries, I'll give you a quick rundown on our self-guided options. All of our guided holidays are also available in self-guided format, with the exception of Cuba, and these include everything you would expect from our guided tours. The only difference is the absence of the guide and the crowd. So they're considerably cheaper than travelling with a group, of course, and plus you're able to depart whenever you wish. There's no reduction in quality. you receive exactly the same exceptional tour pack, you ride the same proven routes, and you stay in the same great hotels. And although there's no guide to provide assistance throughout your holiday, our staff are always available for help and advice during office hours, and an emergency phone line is manned 24/7 during the touring season. So, as well as offering self-guided versions of all of our guided itineraries, we also have a range of tours specifically designed to appeal to people wanting to go their own way. So we have long weekend and week-long single-base fly ride options in Andalusia and Catalonia, and all of these include bike hire, making them perfect for grabbing a little bit of winter sun in the off-season. We also have 8 and 11-day German itineraries. Both of these visit the Black Forest, dams from Operation Chastise, and the atmospheric Colditz Castle, which was home of Flag 4C and many escape attempts. Obviously, the most famous, the Great Escape. Closer to home, we've got 3 self-guided French itineraries, and these visit the Normandy beaches, the Dordogne, and the island of Corsica. And we also have several UK offerings, including a Welsh 5-day tour and a 7-day 3 countries tour. And last of all, for the tour formats that we offer, we have what we call private and custom. I mentioned a little earlier that all of our off-the-peg tours can be altered to suit your needs, but if that doesn't quite fit the bill, or if you have an idea for a tour that you just can't find anywhere else, then we can create a bespoke itinerary from scratch that will bring your dream holiday to life. So it might be that you just can't find the exact combination of routes that you're looking for, or it might be that you want to do something completely different that no one else has ever even thought of before. Give us a call about it, because we can use our knowledge and experience to help you make it happen. And it doesn't matter how unusual it might be. You never know, it might even become Magellan's next guided route. In reality, of course, we don't expect to be sending anyone to the moon or the ocean floor anytime soon, but our private and custom tours are primarily aimed at and are particularly well suited to existing groups. So perhaps a bunch of old schoolmates or a subgroup from a club such as yourselves who may not want to come along as part of a larger group, or who may have different agendas for observed rides or trainings, etc., or who may simply be far larger than our guided group size in the first place. It's obviously extremely complicated and stressful for whoever ends up being responsible for herding all of those cats and trying to link together all of those hotel stays and crossings into a single seamless event. So for bookings like these, we very often tailor-make an itinerary to provide whatever the specified route may be, and then we work closely with the lead customer in order to make any necessary adjustments to suit the precise requirements of their group. And we operate a sliding pricing scale once bookings exceed 5 people. And for large groups, thanks to the economy of scale involved, we're often able to pass on as much as 25% in savings compared to our standard self-guided itineraries. So that was a taster of the tours that we have on offer. Now I'd just like to take you through what it's actually like to go on one of our holidays and what the Magellan experience entails. So from the moment you make a booking with us, right through to the moment that you roll your bike back into the garage, and even beyond that, we deliver our own blend of light-hearted communication and informal and unobtrusive support and assistance. So when you submit our online booking form, you'll receive an invoice, and as soon as your deposit is paid, your space is confirmed, and we start creating your holiday. So full payment is due 10 weeks before departure, but we do also offer a £95 deposit option with monthly instalments. But you'll receive a reminder 1 week before full payment is due, so you don't need to do anything else. When your deposit is paid, you get access to all of the community stuff, help and advice. We also let you know about things you can do now to help your holiday run smoothly, such as checking passports have sufficient validity and arranging flights and any necessary visas, etc. This is also the point to ensure that all essential motorcycle, breakdown, travel and medical insurance is in place, and that it provides appropriate levels of cover. And it's also when we request ICE info, such as allergies, medications, medical conditions, etc., also that we can provide you with the best possible care whilst you're away. About a month before departure, you'll receive our digital and postal tour packs, and they contain everything you need to know to have a safe and successful holiday. Our digital tour pack contains route files and a PDF version of your itinerary, as well as pages and pages of advice tailored to your specific tour. And this is where you'll find instructions on what to pack, how to ensure your bike is prepared, what you need to do next, such as maybe obtaining a Critère certificate for France, for example, and anything important to note about your holiday, such as weather conditions, unusual local road signs or driving habits, country-specific laws, such as no in-ear audio allowed in Spain, or you must carry a high-vis vest in France, and a whole host of other helpful information. And a lot of this is also available on our website as well, so you feel free to browse and take a look for that if you like. So you'll also receive our postal tour packet around the same time, and this includes all of the fun stuff like t-shirts, stickers, free gifts, etc. as well as a printed and bound copy of the itinerary document, which is perfect for popping in your tank bag and scribbling notes on during the day. So now that you've actually received your tour pack and you've been staying up all night reading each and every word, it's finally time to pull your gloves on and go. So I'm going to show you now what a day on one of our guided tours look like. But first, I just want to re-emphasize how important individual freedom is on our tours, and to stress that every aspect of them is designed to create a holiday feel. So everybody is free to ride at their own pace. Nobody ever has to feel that they're holding up the group or that they're being held back themselves. You can ride alone or with whoever you wish. And we always find that the main group sort of sorts itself out fairly quickly into smaller groups of like riding styles. There are plenty of rest days with optional ride outs or off-bike activities. So whether you want more saddle time or less, there's something for you. The riding day begins with a morning briefing from the guide over breakfast. And this generally includes fuel locations, weather information, such as expected temperatures at the top of high passes, etc. And a reminder to look out for any highlights of the day or any routing points that might require extra attention. Like, for example, the fact that Swiss motorway and dual carriageway signs are coloured the opposite way to everywhere else in Europe. The riding day is normally no more than 6 hours in length, and it's split into 4 easily manageable sections. Each one's punctuated by a pre-checked coffee stop, but there's no expectation to stick with the group at all. So you're more than welcome to deviate from our routes if you wish. You can stop to take photos, dawdle at a particular sightseeing spot that might be a bucket list item for you, or skip lunch and ride straight ahead to jump in the pool. The choice is yours. All we ask is that you stay in touch with the guide to make them aware of your plans. So the guide for each trip will create a WhatsApp group around a month before departure, and all of the members of the tour will be invited to join. This is a great way to get to know each other and to keep in touch whilst away, and also after you return. And we find it really handy for the guide to keep the group informed. So you'll most likely receive welcome messages at each overnight stay with information on where's a good place to find dinner, or your hotel's Wi-Fi password, local sites to visit, etc. We don't operate the drop-off system on our tours, purely because we've found that for groups of strangers of varying abilities, and many of whom aren't familiar with it, it often results in more confusion than anything else. We allow people to sort of space to ride and find a rhythm to suit themselves. It's not unusual to see on occasion subgroups using the drop-off system and riding with precision and skill, but generally we don't. So our guides stay at the back of the group as much as possible, and they will often leave about 15 minutes after the last rider. So this gives them the huge advantage of being able to spot anyone in difficulty during the day, or to sweep up anyone who may be having navigation issues, for example. It also means that they can reasonably expect to be the last person into the evening's hotel, so they'll be immediately aware if anyone else hasn't arrived. We also have a support rider on each of our guided tours, and this is a person who's proven themselves to be helpful and competent during previous Magellan trips, and they're on hand to assist the guide where they can. So the support rider will often share their time amongst less confident groups, or maybe lead complex sections of the route, and they'll also be on the lookout for excellent photo opportunities. All of our guides and most of our support riders will have helmet comms, allowing them to receive incoming calls throughout the day, and our guides are available 24/7 during the tour. If you happen to be on a self-guided tour, our phone lines are manned 24 hours, and a member of the office team will always get back to you to assist with any emergencies. So let's open up our itinerary and take a look at a couple of days from last season's breathtaking Black Forest tour. So these are taken straight from our 2019 digital tour pack, so it's a good representation of what you would receive around a month before you set off. And this itinerary can be downloaded for viewing on your phone or other device, or the printed version can be just popped in a pannier and leafed through every day. As you can see in the top right hand corner there, I led this tour, so my contact details are on the page. The WhatsApp group should be up and running by the time you receive this, but it's important that you have access to the guide directly for anything that you might need. So all of your crossing information is included. Crossing references, individual crossing references are provided in the email that the tour pack comes with. But you also have details for meeting points and meeting times on day one. So for our Eurotunnel crossings, we meet at stop 24, which is only a junction up from the terminal itself. The guide will talk through the crossing process for anyone who hasn't done it before, and then lead everyone onto the train. And the half hour or so in the carriage is a great opportunity to get to know one another and sort of see who's who on the tour. And then once off the train, the guide will ask the support rider to act as tail end Charlie, and then the guide will lead the group at a very steady pace to the initial coffee stop. And this is where you're all set free and the guide drops to the rear. And as you can see on the second page there, There's a short description followed by extremely detailed notes on each day's ride, and that includes day length, mileage, whether there are any motorway sections, the distances between segments, as well as precise lat-long coordinates and an explanation of every stop along the way. So you can see that the day is broken down into 4 stages, with rides from last night's hotel to coffee AM, to lunch, to coffee PM, and on to that evening's hotel stay. As I mentioned before, the guide will give a detailed brief each morning before setting off at the back of the pack, and you're free to follow this itinerary as closely or as loosely as you wish. When you arrive at the hotel, there's always a detailed description along with a photo of how the building looks from the road, so that will help you find parking and checking in, etc. Often the support rider may have arrived first and already collected keys, etc. But if not, the receptionist will always be expecting the group. Below this, you can see a map for the day, which assists with double checking any wayward sat navs. And if the approach to the hotel is particularly complex, then there will always be a larger scale map included as well to make the last few hundred meters as clear as possible. On the second page here is an example of ride out and activity options on a rest day. So hopefully you can see that there are 4 ride outs available. So all of these have GPX files included. And when I was on this tour last year, we combined numbers 2 and 3 together into a full day's ride. And we visited the beautiful cathedral in Freiburg, and then we went on to Lake Titisee for a swim. It was a lovely day, actually. But there are also options to stroll around the town of Baden-Baden, for example, spend time soaking in the world famous baths. And as you can see from there, hopefully from the text, naked and clothed options were available. So depending on how adventurous you're feeling, you could do either of those. And then right at the bottom, hotel details are included again, just to make sure that no one gets lost on a day off. Each of the ride out options itself also has a full page description with notes and maps, so you know exactly what to expect. And this is great for group members who, for example, might be the only person that wants to go on a specific ride. So all the necessary information is there. You can take your tour pack and go off for the day. Finally, on the very back page of the itinerary is a big thank you from us with details on how to keep in touch and access the rewards and the discounts that you should, that you should have now as a Magellanite if you choose to come on another fantastic holiday with us. So hopefully you can see that we provide everything you could possibly need for your adventure, and that the Magellan team is there when you need us without being intrusive or making the tour format far too rigid. So of course our tours rely on people having their own navigation equipment, and it's important that tour members are able to find their own way. But all of our guides are competent at setting up most common makes of sat-nav, so no one needs to worry if they can't make theirs behave. And we often have people away with us who navigate by smartphone, and we can support this with different file types if necessary. And on occasion, we get small groups that maybe even share a single nav unit, such as families. But the important thing is that you're familiar and comfortable with whatever form of navigation works for you. So it's a running joke at Magellan that 3 different sat-navs will result in 4 different routes. And it's not uncommon to see group members arriving at stops from all points of the compass before all departing again in completely different directions as well. And the group very rarely arrives more than an hour apart, and this is part of the personal adventure that you're on. So we recommend that you trust your own sat-nav, or whoever sat-nav is at the front of your subgroup, and just keep half an eye on whether or not you're going in completely the wrong direction. A lot of people worry unduly about how complex sat-navs are becoming nowadays, but we find that just keep things simple and practicing using your own model is the best approach. And we're always here to help if necessary. So I'll just show you a short video now. This is from 2018 Spain Grand Tour, and it's just an idea of how incredible touring with Magellan can be. It's only 30 seconds long, but it gives you a really nice feel for what our holidays are like. So that's a nice sort of visual idea. So we're nearing the end of the presentation now, and I'm sure some of you will have questions. I'll attempt to answer those at the very end. But at the moment, of course, there are 2 rather large elephants in the room, and they are, as I'm sure you've guessed, Brexit and COVID. So just to quickly go over these, it's very difficult for us to provide much concrete information right now, of course. These things are both very changeable, but rest assured, we're closely monitoring the situation, and we're constantly updating our contingency plans to suit. We will always do the right thing and follow our consciences whatever happens. And I think this is evidenced by all of the positive reactions that we've had to the way we dealt with the postponement of the 2020 season. So with regard to Brexit, all of the necessary details will be compiled and sent out to our existing customers after January, once we actually know what has happened. And there'll be information on insurance, licenses, driving permits, etc., border crossings. But for now, the best advice that we can give is just to make sure that your passport has plenty of time left on it. With regards to COVID, again, we're reacting as quickly as possible to each change that comes along, and we will be in touch with all of our customers well in advance to let them know of any measures we'll be putting in place on our tours, for example, or any necessary itinerary changes. And there are some lovely examples here of what people have said about us. As I mentioned before, we get endless testimonials each season, but it's nice to know that people think that we've done the right thing and gone out of our way for them. But there's no need to take our word for it. You can check out our 5-star reviews on Facebook or on Google, and you can visit Magellan Riders and simply ask another Magellanite. So I'll just quickly cut to another short video now, and this one's going to show you a few of our customers telling us exactly why they love Magellan.
Clearly, it was a magnificent tour, organised by a genius to get us all there and back in one piece, mostly. All the hard work was done back in Blighty, and it was just left to us to enjoy a mind-blowing trip.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Fabulous.
It lived up to all expectations. Lovely hotels, some quirkier than others, but loved every one of them. Brilliant.
We'll be back
Absolutely
at the drop
brilliant.
of a hat.
Yeah, definitely.
Well done.
Magellan motorcycle tours, I've had an absolutely fantastic time. I've been on loads of motorcycle tours, and I must say, Magellan's one of the best. I've got to hand it to you. From start to finish, you're looked after. Any problems that ironed out, you know, and there's lovely people, lovely roads, lovely hotels. I have actually not got a bad thing to say. And I've been on so many tours. Trust me, 30 years of motorcycling abroad. Magellan, all the way.
Toby wanted to know why we went on this trip. And I guess the best thing to say is the reason we came is because we were here last year. We did the trip last year to the Alps, Lake Garda. And we enjoyed it so much. We thought we're going to come all the way from the U.S. with our funny accent to do this all over again because it was such a great time. So if you're considering a trip, I guess if you want something that is well organized, the riding is fantastic, the scenery is beautiful, and you want to meet a lot of nice new people that enjoy motorcycling, Magellan's the place that you want to go.
Okay. Right, so that's the end of the presentation. Hopefully you found it enjoyable and informative. I'd like to thank you all very, very much for logging in to watch. We all really appreciate you taking the time to hear what we've got to say. If you'd like to know more, there are plenty of ways to contact us. Obviously, we're going to have a bit of a breakdown, hopefully do some questions and answers. But I'd just like to leave you with the many ways that you can connect with us. And if you'd like any further information, I believe that Jerry has made these links available within the Teams meeting room. So please feel free to get in touch with us. Thank you very much. And that's the end.